Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Beth, and I just finished reading The Windup Girl by Paolo Bacigalupi. Please forgive me, I know I butchered that name, and I'm so sorry. But this book was published in 2009 and is about 400 pages long. So, alright, I got this book quite a while ago. I do think that the writing in itself is a little bit hard to get into because I've tried to pick this up once before, and only now did I pick it up and I was like, oh, I'm actually enjoying it now. So I think you have to be in the proper headspace to read this book. It's definitely not the hardest of reads, but it's not the easiest of reads. I think honestly this is very akin to, I know it's a different type of cyberpunk, but it's very akin to Snow Crash, in which the writing is and the characters, like, it's very similar to that, but I would say more depressing. If you want to read a more depressing, more dystopian future, this is the book for you. So, basic premise, we are in the future, I assume, a dystopian future in which, there has been a bunch of famine brought on by blister rust, which affects the fruits and vegetables. So a lot of foods that we eat now have gone completely extinct. And the whole novel takes place in Thailand, in which you have walls that kind of protect against the ocean because the polar ice caps melted because fossil fuels were depleted. And, I assume this is what happened. A lot of this you kind of have to read between the lines and guess as it coming. It's not, like I said, it's not the easiest read to pick up. There's also cibrosis, which is a sickness that you can get from these disease kind of foods that are growing out. And then there's also weevils, which just kills a bunch of plants. So essentially, food is danger, global warming bad, everything bad. Whole thing takes place in Thailand. That's the beginning for you. And I would say our main characters are Anderson. He's basically a cowardly man. He's from Des Moines, Iowa, and he's infiltrated Thailand to try to get at their seed stash because they have stashed seeds of things that have gone extinct. And the company he works for basically recreates those seeds into foods that can withstand the blister rust and the diseases and so on and so forth. But he's there under guys like running a spring factory because the spring can essentially store a lot of energy, and a lot of their fuel is that stored energy because of jewels. So maybe that's why she's called a wind-up girl. Not because she's fueled off of wind-up, but that leads me into another main character, which is our wind-up girl. Her name's Amiko. She is essentially a stripper / prostitute. Essentially, this is a genetically modified servant that came out of Japan, spiced with dog DNA to make her more obedient to her master. She must obey. There's this huge load of training that she did throughout her life that she is always fighting against in her mind and with her body, even though she fails most of the time. Her master bought her imported and left her there essentially to fend for herself, and she's kind of just an illegal citizen that can be mulched, killed, and made into, dirt at the first inconvenience of someone she doesn't bribe, because they have these police, which are called white shirts. And they're led by JD and his second-in-command, Kay. And so they're basically, patrolling to make sure that all of these gene-ripping stuff doesn't affect Thailand and, wrecks their seed supply, and there's not a whole bunch of disease going on because of all these issues. It's a really, really dense world, if you're not getting that from my information. You got shifting perspectives. We also have, Hung Se, I'm butchering his name, but that's how I read it in my head. And he is the second command under the Calorie Man, the man that is there trying to steal from Thailand's seed banks. And what can I tell you? But that guy used to be a big deal in China before the green headbands came and killed his whole family and all of his people. So he fled to Thailand because that's asylum for him. I think you have all the main players. And essentially, you don't most of the book is just kind of describing these characters, where they live, what their intentions are. I don't even think I give you intentions. I just try to give you the base idea of who they are. And already I feel like that took a large amount of time. Hopefully I didn't confuse you too much. But it's a really good, depressing story to read. I don't think it will leave you completely shattered, but it definitely is a tale a tale of what not to do. I like that the people are really human. You're like, oh, that's just a bad person. What are you doing? It very much shows the messiness of life. Like, is murder okay? Does a wind-up girl that's genetically modified, she's not viewed as a human. She's not viewed as having a soul. There's a lot of Buddhist kind of references and Thailand words that are put into this novel. And there's also a lot of, like, splicing with people that have saved, they're saints of gene ripping. Like, this is the saint of this food because you saved this, or the saint of I saved this seed. Which makes sense because they would be viewed as saints further down the line because that enables people to still survive when so many other countries have gone under. So, I think that for me, the best part of the novel was its really deep, rich history, but it came with, like, a double-sided edge of the sword because there were certain things that weren't clear enough. Maybe I'm stupid. Or maybe I have to read the other two short stories because Yellow Card Man is probably about Hung Se and Calorie Man is probably about Anderson, who's, one of the main characters. So it makes sense that maybe, okay, I just had to read that, or maybe if I wanted to get more intel, I would. There's certain things that just didn't feel about the world, like how it ended up in this specific position, which I guess you don't really need to know how it became to that point, but I would like to know more. For instance, there's this really evil man, and I never understood if he's evil because he made diseases or he's evil because he just gene ripped new species. I'm just not sure because his current position is gene ripping for new foods and species, but you get what I'm saying. I wish it was just a little more clear on stuff like that, just previous stuff. But other than that, like I said, the writing the prose is fine. Like, I'm not saying it's the greatest thing in the world, but I enjoyed it. I think it's not very lyrical, but I think there's some beauty within the prose, in which it can feel very technical. I love that there's a language that is, put into this and kind of change with different influences that have been gone over. So I guess I'll change my mind that it's actually quite smart the way it's written. It's just not my favorite, but it is still really well done. You just gotta think a little bit. Think more like Clockwork Orange, where you kind of have to learn a whole new language to read the book. This isn't completely like that. You really don't have to go too deep into a new language, but you do understand certain things like Farang is foreigner. You'll learn it, and most of those words are in italic. At least that's how it is in my version. So, I'm gonna recommend this book. I enjoyed it, and I think you will too. Anyway, have a good one.